Gentlemen, continuing on in the Shadow Work series, I wanted to tackle neurosis today. The term itself really isn't really used much anymore in the psychological, field, and I know that the field of psychology really doesn't use it, as part of the lexicon anymore. And to a greater degree, obviously, the terms that we know as the disorders, they're labels and surface disorders that are pretty much side effects of something that's a little bit, deeply embedded in the psyche that maybe we don't recognize. I think that's where we probably have to do most of the work. So I guess maybe honing in on a greater existential condition that really exist, rather than looking at sort of I don't want to call them comfortable, but the vague terms that we've kind of become accustomed to, the disorders, the conditions like, PTSD and personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, narcissistic personality, all these that give language to the clinical aspect of what's going on in the psyche, but the root of this stems from neurosis, as it always has. And I think we need to bring that term back into the light and understand where it came from. A lot of times we just sort of forget that a lot of these symptoms just are basically on the surface. We need to really get to the root of a lot of the aspects of the psyche that we don't tackle, that we don't confront. A lot of this stems from ancestral trauma that's carried. It's also from the environment and what we observe on a day-to-day basis, and sort of incorporates a lot of the irrational way of looking at the world. So it all stems from really a view of the world and a view of ourselves. Albert Ellis had a great quote that really kind of hit home with me as I was reading it about a couple months ago, and I have it written here. It's irrational ideas induce adverse emotional states. So really, it's, the ideas about our reality are clashing with the actual reality itself, and this is where a lot of it stems from. And in Frank Bruno's book, It's Okay to Be Neurotic, he kind of gets across to everybody that it's okay. We don't have to put these hard negative labels on things that exist to a degree or another, whether they're mild or extreme psychosis. It's important to know the root cause rather than looking at the symptoms themselves. We don't tend to look as deep into those aspects as we do sort of the clinical terms, and really it puts people on a shelf and puts a label on them when we can't really look at these things on a more deeper level. And that's why I wanted to examine these things a little bit more in depth, because I think the point of creating this group was to study the root causes, to really look at the root causes of why we're suffering. As other great thinkers have done, I study the ones that sort of are examining these things to a much deeper esoteric and really a root level that really hasn't been confronted for years. I think because the medical industry has put such a premium on trying to designate something specifically for, this treatment or that treatment, we tend to lose the real meaning and the real practice behind trying to confront some of these issues with the shadow. And again, it's a view of looking outside of yourself and looking also within and seeing the consistency there. But moreover, this is a way of thinking. An irrational neurosis is that irrational viewpoint of your reality versus your actual reality in front of you. So in the next couple of weeks, in the Shadow Work series, I think it's going to be important to really examine some of the aspects that we're looking at with ancestral trauma, and carrying that emotion throughout our history, throughout many generations, and why usually in a family somebody becomes the healer, somebody becomes the conduit between all these past emotional scars and trying to heal the future, trying to change, break the cycle for a term that's used very commonly. So that's what we'll do for the next couple of weeks, and continue on in the Shadow Work series as we sort of practice more some exercises, something to consider about almost speaking to the shadow itself and thinking out loud and talking to it, and understanding that it's healthy to really speak to some of these aspects that really come up when we're dealing with a lot of this stress and a lot of this anxiety. So, we want to be able to give language to our hurt. That is the key. Give language to some of the things that are that we're being confronted with on a day-to-day basis. So anyway, hope everybody's doing well, and feel free to contact me as well. And look for more of these videos coming up next couple of weeks. I finally have some free time, so this is good to have these sit downs and really delve into some of these things. So talk to you all soon. Take care.